In this video, I'm going to take you through step-by-step how to brand your beauty business. And this is exactly how I branded my own business, which generated $7,500 in its first month and $15,000 in its second month after I used these branding strategies. Hi, I'm Melissa Cutler, and I grew my online beauty education business to up to $100,000 from scratch, from nothing in 3 years. And I took all the same strategies I learned from doing that and applied it to my own beauty business. And when I did that, I made $7,500 my first month and $15,000 my second. And I'm going to outline for you everything that I go through when making my brand. I've also just recently relaunched my permanent makeup brand into a brand new page, and I only have 50 followers, but with the branding, among other strategies, within 3 weeks, I was able to generate $3,500 in sales with a brand new Instagram account. So it's not about the followers. The branding does matter. All right, so let's dive in. So first of all, branding. What is branding? Okay, branding is very simply taking the unknown and associating it with the known. Your business being the unknown and other things that people like being the known. We want to accumulate and pair as many good things that are relevant to your brand as possible with your brand, so that way when people see content from you, see elements of your brand, see your website, they're reinforced as to what your brand is, why you're different, and why they should choose you. When you have amazing branding, you will find that clients are willing to pay more, and you will get more people reaching out, and you will convert more of those people that are reaching out. If you don't have a differentiated brand, you just look like everybody else, and so people are going to compare your prices to the other people that look just like you. That is something that we don't want. It actually takes 33 to 100 interactions with your brand before someone is ready to buy something from you. So we want to make sure everything is consistent, aesthetically pleasing, and has the right brand messaging to make you look not better than the competition, but what's more important is making you look different from them. So for example, when I talk to my own clients in person or on the phone for consults, they say things like, oh, I saw this on your site, or oh, I saw in one of your content pieces. And they actually talk to me about things that they've seen about my brand, even though in my brand new page with 50 followers, I only get like 4 likes. People are commenting on it, and that is infinitely 10 times, a million times more valuable than a like or 100 likes to me. And actually, you already have a brand, you just might not know it. So whether you are intentionally creating a brand, which if you've done that, good for you for putting in the effort, or if you haven't done this yet, your clients are still perceiving you in a certain way and making associations with you and other things. So you are creating a brand, whether you're doing it on purpose or not. So the point of this video is how to train you to make your brand so that it is on purpose, because clients are going to judge you, whether consciously or subconsciously, on the content that you post, the colors that you have, the fonts that you have, whether it's consistent or not, and especially the messaging that you are conveying. And I just want to say again, it's very important that your brand doesn't need to be better than the competition, but it does need to be different. So if you're seeing in your region, like you might see tons of pinks, you don't want to be pink, you want to be green. If you're seeing tons of neutral, light, soft palettes, maybe you want to go different and go for a deeper, more moody, sophisticated brand with black added to it. Or if you are all about fun and lightheartedness, maybe you want to include a pop of bright color within your brand to make yourself stand out and pair it with a lot of different neutrals. But branding isn't just about the colors or the logo or the visual things. There's actually a lot more than that. So let's dive into the individual things that make up a brand. Well, I define branding into 5 different elements that make up a brand. So it's not just about the visuals, but we do have brand visuals, which are your colors, your fonts, and your logo. But before we can even decide and look into those, we need something called brand values. I'll go over what that is in a sec. And then we also have brand messaging, and then there's brand voice and tone, and then lastly, brand consistency. So those are the 5 things that make up a brand. Let's dive into each one individually now. So first, brand values. This is what we start with. So what brand values are is they're very simply words that describe what your brand is about or what it stands for. So if you want to design a brand that makes impact, not just makes money, but you actually want to have a positive impact on the world, the values is the first place that we start. There are simple brand values like quality, client-centric, integrity, results-driven, and authenticity. And then there's more unique brand values like leveraging technology, science-backed, inclusivity, community, fun, down to earth, empowerment, feeling whole and complete, and indulgence. And when picking brand values, you want to limit yourself to just like 3 to 5, because if you have like 10, it's going to be really hard to stay consistent because you're going to have 3 here, 3 there in your content and messaging. And it's just going to be a little bit confusing for not just the clients, but even for yourself to stay organized. So I like to limit it down to like 3 to 5 and do those really, really well. It's not about going broad with your brand values and picking a lot. It's about picking the few that really resonate, that you really want to communicate, and then going really deeply into communicating and leveraging these brand values for the creation and the extension and the growth of your business. But so what? You pick some words and then what do you do with it? Well, there's actually very specific ways in which we incorporate brand values into a business. There's your content ideas and your content inspiration. So if one of your brand values is empowerment, maybe you make more motivational stuff. Maybe you do post some quotes as hooks on Reels and things like that. If it's science-backed as one of your values, maybe you're quoting more statistics and studies. If you're going for indulgence, maybe you have more brand messaging that is like, you're deserving of this, you deserve it, you're worth it, and have luxurious textures like silk or rich coffee or images of people going out and having fun. Like your kind of brand doesn't just have to stick with beauty and showcasing beauty. We also want to communicate the lifestyle that someone has or wants to have who patrons your business. So we're painting out a bigger vision than just the service itself. Another way that we incorporate brand values is in the visual design. So this goes into your colors and your fonts and your logo, as well as brand imagery and brand textures that we use too. So there's a very different kind of communication between soft and muted colors versus like dark and moody colors. They convey different things. They make people feel different things and make different assumptions and associations about your brand when they see them. So when we start to design the brand visual elements, I'll go through exactly how we do that in a bit, but I would use those brand values as a jumping off point to make sure that the colors and the fonts and the logo that I pick does align and reinforce and stays consistent with those brand values. It also goes into your website design and your website build. So just like with content, it comes into the words that are used in the website, as well as the visuals, both the colors and the fonts that you all have designed from the brand visuals, and it communicates all this through your website. And clients, even if they find you on social, even if they find you from an ad, they're gonna Google you and they are going to see your website. Whether you have a website or not, they're gonna be looking for one. So you wanna make sure that every single touch point that they can find on their way to becoming a client or a customer of yours is reinforcing your brand. And it's not just in terms of how we communicate our brand, it's also about incorporating it into our client experience. So if, again, your brand value is indulgence, in your client experience, you might have treats out. And instead of just having tap water, you might have sparkling water as an option. And maybe your bedding is super comfy. You have like these warm, cozy blankets and things that people can just let themselves go in and like indulge themselves in. If one of your brand values is feeling whole and complete, maybe you do research into asking non-invasive questions for your clients, but ones that are designed to connect and build a relationship, so that way they don't have to feel so alone and they feel a little bit more complete with themselves when they leave your salon, your spa, or your studio. Think about your studio if you're wanting to communicate feeling whole and complete, or like a safe space, is that your studio is like a safe space where people can be vulnerable. So if you ever kind of think of lash extension artists, there's a kind of a joke called lash therapy, because you'd be surprised. I had a gentleman I was working with, and he starts telling me about his divorce and like how that went and just a lot of intimate details. And he's like, oh my God, why am I telling you this? He's not used to going to like beauty treatments, whereas like the women just tell everything. But he was like, why am I telling you this? I'm like, this is just what happens in these appointments. It's just a place where you can just, you know, just talk about anything, let it go. And you do build a really intimate connection with your clients. It's actually one of the favorite things that I love to do in my beauty business. And then your brand values are also executed in your business growth and your business research and what you're doing to propel your business forward. So let's say if you're science-backed, maybe one of the things that you do with your business operations is every day you spend 30 minutes doing deep dives into more research and studies and statistics and case studies and examples and new technologies. If one of your brand values is authenticity, maybe you spend time researching how to show up on social film personal videos with you talking to the camera, how to improve the overall kind of aesthetic of that, and how to communicate and do storytelling so that way you can communicate your own authenticity better. So this comes down into how you're spending your time on developing new skills in order to advance your business in the direction that you want to go, which would be aligned with your brand and your brand values. So all in all, our brand values, they live and breathe in the business that we want to build. But how do you get a list of brand values? Like, how do you know what brand values you should pick, which ones are good, which ones are bad? So that's when I jump into ChatGPT and I have it help me think. I'm not asking it to create my brand values. I'm asking it to help me brainstorm. So in order for this to be a better quality answer, you could of course just type into ChatGPT and be like, what is a list of brand values? But you're going to get a really generic response, and there's like hundreds that you could choose from. So how do we get ChatGPT to narrow down and give you like the best of the best that are right for you and your brand? So I would give it a prompt like this. I'm going to read it. Okay, ChatGPT, I'm deciding my brand values. Ask me questions about my personal self and my beliefs and my life experiences, and then provide me with a list of 20 relevant brand values that would be unique to me. So this is going to give you a much higher quality answer. ChatGPT will ask you like 10 questions. It'll be like question 1, question. You could just put 1, answer, 2, answer, 3, answer, and you can go back and forth like that and just add in all your answers, and then ChatGPT is going to give you a list of brand values. I usually ask it to give me like 20 to choose from. Now, once you do this, what I would do is name the chat. So on the sidebar on the left-hand side, you can rename that chat. I would make that a dedicated your business, your brand chat so that your ChatGPT is always trained on your brand. So whenever you're asking it for content ideas, help you write something, help you brainstorm something, it already has a history and an understanding because it's been trained on your brand and what you're all about. Now, if you get the list of 20 and you're not super happy with it, you can ask it for another 20. You can also prompt it with like, okay, let's think about more about the results that I deliver. So with my services, the types of results that I deliver or how I want my client to feel when they leave my chair is blank. And then you can ask it to create 20 more based on that. So you can give it more information and more details in order to get a more detailed response. Now, once you pick your top 3 to 5, copy those into the chat in ChatGPT and say, okay, I've picked my top 3 to 5 brand values, remember these, and then list them below. ChatGPT will create a memory and it will now remember what your 5 brand values are. If you skip that step, it's only going to have memory of like the 40 different brand values it's already given you, and the rest of the process is not going to be as accurate to the direction you're looking to go. Okay, after picking your brand values, then we focus on the brand visuals, but we actually use the brand values to dictate what the brand visuals should be. So brand visuals include colors, fonts, a logo, imagery, and textures, and even shapes. Like that's the difference between like square, circle, arched, or some funky shapes. So why we care so much about the visuals and putting so much time into it and thought? Well, the visuals are going to change how someone feels about your brand. There is color psychology. There are reasons why McDonald's uses red and yellow. There's reasons why Desjardins uses green. There's reasons why TD Bank uses green. They use these colors for a reason because there's color psychology and there are feelings that people get and associations that they already have with a color that you are going to leverage and bring into your brand. So for example, black can be powerful or it can be moody. Colors can have multiple different meanings, and it depends on kind of the shade, how light or dark that is. If it's pastel, if it's a tone and kind of muted and grayed out, if it's bright and vibrant. You could have one color purple be a pastel purple, a bright purple, a dark purple, and maybe a gray purple, or maybe a red purple. All of these are going to evoke different feelings when somebody looks at it. And same thing with fonts. If you have like a bold font in all caps, it's going to signify strength and power. Versus if you have like a handwritten cursive font, then it's going to communicate something more approachable or more feminine. You can also mix the two and have a bold all caps font and balance it out with a nice cursive handwritten font in order to make it less less intimidating and add a sense of approachability within it so you can balance the two between authoritative and approachable. So how I start to kind of build my brand visuals is I start to build a mood board in Pinterest, but I use ChatGPT to give me ideas for what I should be searching on Pinterest that will align with my brand values. So here's my prompt for having ChatGPT give me ideas to search on Pinterest. I would say something like this. I'm going to read it. Considering my brand values, what's something I can search on Pinterest that aligns to find ideas for, and then insert at the end, color palette, and then get that, and then do that research in Pinterest, and then save your color palette ideas to a board and name that board My Business Brand. We'll then use the same prompt to get the Pinterest ideas for a logo, and then we'll save images to our Pinterest board based on that. And then we'll ask it to do the same thing for fonts. Then we'll ask it to do the same thing for imagery, for textures, and for shapes. And we'll save all of that to a Pinterest board. But now we have this big Pinterest board, this mood board that we need to start narrowing down. I would then go through and I'd pick my top 3 picks of each thing. So top 3 color palette picks, top 3 font picks, and I download those images. And if you have ChatGPT or the Plus account, you can upload images to ChatGPT. And this is what I do. So I take my 3 color palettes, for example, of what I'm deciding between. I upload them to ChatGPT and I say, between these 3 images, what does each color palette evoke, or what feelings does it give to someone who would look at it? And which one would best align with my brand? And then I let ChatGPT give me the answers. I am asking it for a recommendation, but I don't always go with its number 1 recommendation because sometimes I have a gut feeling that I want something different. So, but it gives me the analysis. It gives me the information that I need in order to make an informed decision. Because what I see a lot of people do is they just pick colors that they like, which is okay to get started, but I love to have a little bit more intentionality so that way you can really build a brand that does do what it's supposed to do, which is make associations of things that people like aligning with your brand. So for all this visual process, this is exactly how I branded and rebranded my last 2 businesses, both for my beauty business coaching business and for my in-person client service beauty business as well. If you want a full tutorial with like worksheets and visuals and like step-by-step guide, I have a full training in my beauty business accelerator program called Propel Beauty Co. And in there, it's a pay-as-you-go program that costs less than the price of getting your hair done. I'm trying to help create 10,000 new beauty businesses and reduce the industry churn rate, meaning how many people quit after the first year. Right now it's at 80% of people quit, and I'm trying to reduce that down to 50. But you can check out that group and that community and that training down in the description below. All right, back to branding. So brand messaging is the next thing. So your brand messaging is like your overarching mission, purpose, why your brand exists, and what you're here to try to do. And we do this in a sentence to communicate with clients. For example, my messaging for this beauty business coaching brand is Propel Beauty Co. empowers beauty entrepreneurs to build thriving, sustainable businesses through accessible mentorship, proven strategies, and innovative technology. And my brand messaging for my permanent makeup beauty business is helping you to achieve timeless natural beauty with undetectable results while empowering others through innovation, education, and long-term impact. And where we use this brand messaging is, again, in our content, both in the topics and in the captions and in the scripts that we might write for videos, and any text on screen that's seen in maybe some reels or shorts or even in FAQ carousel posts. It also is conveyed in the words on our website. And to go a step further, it can also be used in the way and the language and the words that we use when we communicate with our clients. We want to use our brand's keywords when we're doing consultations, so that way when they see our content and they see our website and then they actually talk to us, there's like trust, because every single step of the way with my clients, I'm always talking about timeless, undetectable, subtle, natural, brows that don't feel like a big change, brows that still feel like you. Subtle changes make big impacts. So those are all the things that I'm communicating with my permanent makeup brand because I believe in an understated look, not going for too bold. And we also use this messaging in paid advertisement too, because we are trying to communicate a certain brand and we want to infuse that into every single part of wherever we show up. So that way clients have a high price perception of us, meaning that we don't look like all the other competitors out there, we have something different and something unique and something that they actually really like and something that they want. Now, we're not going to speak to every single person on the planet, but that's not the goal. Seth Godin has a book called This Is Marketing, and he talks about the power of 1,000 true fans. We want to get so narrow that we are speaking to a very particular person and we go deep with them. Because if you're trying to speak to everybody, you're going to end up speaking to nobody. But if you do find that one person that you can speak to, you're going to attract a lot more of those. They're going to be better clients. They're going to be higher paying clients because they really believe and connect with you, the brand. We need them to make a personal connection with you. So how do we get our brand messaging? Well, we're going to use ChatGPT again. And here is the prompt. I'm going to read it. Help me create my brand messaging. Ask me questions about my mission and my business and the long-term impact I want to make and the services I offer and the results I deliver in order to create my brand messaging in one sentence. So you can go ahead and use that prompt with ChatGPT. If you're following along, great, pause the video, go do that now, and come back and finish off the rest. Next, another component of branding is your brand voice and tone. You have the words, but the particular words we use and the way that they're said matter. 10% of communication is the words we use. The other 90% is things like body language, but we can't communicate that in text. But we can communicate a tone of voice. People hear our inflections. That's another way. But the tone of voice of which we write will make a difference on how people feel about what you're saying. So let me go into some examples. We could have an authoritative tone, a professional tone, a caring tone, an empathetic tone, a quirky tone, a friendly tone, an uplifting tone, a sophisticated tone, or an authentic tone where we're just speaking like a regular human. So I've taken my brand messaging and reworked it into 2 different tones. We're going to be looking at what it would sound like if I used an inspiring tone and what it would sound like if I used an authoritative tone. So let's talk about the inspiring tone first and give you this example. So now it's changed and now it's empowering confidence. That's a unique point about the tone. Through timeless natural beauty and innovative techniques while transforming lives. That's another unique piece of the tone. With education, artistry, and results that stand the test of time. Now, if we do it in a more authoritative tone, hear the difference. Delivering timeless natural beauty through advanced techniques and strategic expertise. That's very different from the last. While setting the standard, that's again very different, more authoritative. For long-term results and empowering growth through education and innovation. Do you hear the differences in tone between the inspiring and uplifting and the authoritative? You can use ChatGPT, you can write your own captions, and then instead of having ChatGPT like write all your captions, which never turn out well, I usually take what I've written and then I ask ChatGPT to rewrite it, maintaining as much of my own words as possible and the way I write, but just making it more in an inspiring tone, in a more uplifting tone, in a more authoritative tone, in a more educational tone, in a more helpful tone. Whatever the tone is, that's what we want to continue and consistently do with everything that we write. Same with your website content. You can write your website content, or honestly, I've actually had ChatGPT write all my website content for the last 2 websites that I've made. And it's actually turned out pretty well, but it's because it's trained on my brand. I didn't just go to ChatGPT and I was like, write my website. It was very, very specific. But you can see how it changes how we write the captions, how we write the website copy, how it has a different feeling, and it makes a different association with our brand. And why we want it to be a certain feeling is because people buy for logical and emotional. Now, the logical we kind of have down because it makes sense that people want to look better and here's a way that they can do it. But the emotional aspect is maybe what you're missing. So we need to create an emotional connection because if we can get that emotional connection, they are going to buy more and they're going to buy at a higher price and they are going to reach out to you more naturally than if you didn't have a brand voice or a brand at all. Now, if this all feels a little overwhelming and you kind of want someone to help you with it, I am giving away a free 30-minute brainstorming session where we can just sit down and chat for 30 minutes and use ChatGPT to help get you started and start making your brand values, your voice, your messaging, and get you started with your brand visuals. So I'll link that link to the call down below. And lastly, number 5 is brand consistency. Again, it takes 33 to 100 interactions. If they're all over the place and they're all wildly different and you're seeing bad quality photos, high quality photos, pink here, green here, this font, that font, like you're just kind of all over the place in a mess and it's not gonna reinforce people's impression of your brand because you're always changing it. Because it takes 33 to 100 interactions, we want every single piece. I think of every single piece of content. Does it reinforce my brand? Does it align with me? Does it align with my values? I run it through that check before I hit publish, before I hit post, before I publish my site. So think of each interaction that they take with your brand, every single piece of content you make, as an opportunity to reinforce your brand and bring someone one step closer of those 33 to 100 interactions to actually buying with you. So here's an action item for you. Do a digital audit of yourself. Go through all of your social channels, including your Facebook business page that I know doesn't get any views, but it actually does. It just doesn't get likes or follows. It still gets views. Go through every single piece. Are you on Yelp? Are you on these third-party websites? Is everything consistent? If it's not consistent, spend some time rethinking about your brand and then how to execute and just tackle it one thing at a time. I'd start with my social media and I'd maybe do some caption updates for my last 10 posts, update the captions, and then start fresh and now start to make more video content, more scripted content, more FAQ carousel content that is better aligned with my brand and keep that going forward. Take a look at your website. Is it time for a website redesign? I know that they can take a long time. I actually gave some free templates away in my community as well, because I know that it takes most people probably 2 months solid to make a website, whereas I can make them in 3 days. But you need that consistency. If it's not consistent, you're still communicating a brand, it's just not the brand that you want to have. I personally find branding super fun, really creative, and it actually makes me more motivated to work on my business because it feels like a fresh start. It's almost like redecorating your living room or redoing your bedroom. It just feels fresh. So I love rebranding. In terms of how many times you can rebrand, your brand is something that's going to evolve and grow and change with you over time. You can do rebrands, but make them strategic and for the best. And honestly, I think it's okay to rebrand. I think it's okay to grow and evolve. So if you do want to change this in the future, don't think that this is the end and once you decide this is forever and it's permanent. You can change things. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and a comment. It helps other people like you find this content a bit easier and helps them in their journey along business success. If you want to see more helpful content like this, you can hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you are in the process of naming your business, I just am releasing a new video on how to name your business. You need to do your branding first, and then you can work on naming your business, but I'll link that video at the end of this one.